Hey guys, so I didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier, but everybody was talking about Nick Khan being on the Bill Simmons show podcast today. Talking about everything going on in WWE. And a lot of people were, as expected, a little critical about what Nick Khan had to say. But what Nick Khan was doing, and some have admitted to this, even though they basically came out and said that he really doesn't care, about the fans or the wrestlers. Maybe not as much as everybody feels Vince McMahon doesn't care about the fans or the wrestlers, but they basically said that, Nick Khan kind of falls in that category of all he's there to do is make money. And that's pretty much true because that's what he was hired on to do. Now, do I believe he expected himself to be in the position that he was in? No. Or that he's in currently, I should say? No. He didn't expect that. But, I guarantee he's probably trying his best to really make it work. Now, here's the thing. Not really much came out of from what I could tell, came out of the interview. I mean, again, he was asked the questions people would expect anybody to ask him in these kind of situations. And he gave the answers that I guess from a business standpoint, he felt best suited, those questions. Like, when he was asked about, Vince, stepping down and then coming back and everything, he gave a good answer. There's no doubt. He gave a decent answer of, yeah, the guy did what he had to do. Like, basically, he said that, Vince was in a position to where, just like any person that's a founder of any kind or a founding CEO, he put it plainly, like Vince found himself in a position of, hey, you did this, you did wrong, you need to go away for a bit, as punishment, and then when the time's right, you can maybe make a return. And that's what he pointed out Vince did. That Vince basically, from his point of view, with the answer is Vince took his punishment and, went away for a while, basically retired temporarily and allowed, Stephanie, Nick, and Triple H and others to run the company. Now, he did acknowledge that Vince's plan, from what he understood, should he ever step away, was for Stephanie and Triple H, succession-wise, to take over certain positions. Like, Stephanie would take over running the company along with Nick Khan and a few others, including her husband. And Triple H, speaking of her husband, would take over creative. That's what Nick Khan's answer was to that. And when he answered, and when he answered the question, basically, if he was surprised Vince made a return the way he did, he said, no, that's just Vince. That's just who Vince is. Basically, those were kind of his answers. Now, the interview is up on YouTube somehow or somewhere. You guys could check it out yourself. And others have touched upon it too. But again, plainly what the guy did, Nick Khan, is just give, I guess you could say very business-like, answers to these questions. And whether we like it or not, that's how it came out. That's how it was, accepted by, Bill Simmons, who was doing the interview, as well as others that were, looking at it from an unbiased, point of view. And, it's just, and I think a lot of people that talked about it have kind of said the same thing, that, Nick Khan, that, even though people may have not liked the answer, what Nick Khan is doing is, just looking at it from a business standpoint, like, what's going to make the most money for the company, whether it's a positive decision or a negative decision, or it's something that, might feel like to fans a sacrifice, an unnecessary move. As long as it makes some kind of money for them, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Now look, again, does it sound like, according to those that did read the transcript and even, watch the interview, does it sound like, Nick Khan, as I mentioned earlier, is uncaring about what goes on as much as Vince in the eyes of a lot of folks? No. No, he doesn't. But what it sounds like what he's trying to do here, and I'm sure others will point this out, is basically, make things sound, just a little more safer from a financial standpoint, because he knows that if a sale, occurs, if a sale does go down the way it's supposed to go down to whoever, whether we like the decision of who they're going to sell to or not, he knows he's got to make everything sound, as sweet and as uncontroversial as possible to try to get the sale done. But with a lot of things going on right now, that may be hard to do. But yeah, my interpretation, I haven't listened to the podcast myself, but or the interview, I should say, on the show myself. But I will say this, him being the CEO, he does have basically some final say, if you will, or has final say in some of the more business financial terms and everything, whether people want to admit that or not. And he again, he's just looking at it as any business CEO would, or any CEO of a business would. He's looking at it from the fact of, okay, how do I go into this interview and answer the questions that I know I might be get asked when it comes to what's currently going on. And he gave, I guess, from a business standpoint, the most appropriate answers he could. I mean, I'm sure that if someone like JD or Ariel Hawani or just Alex, were to sit down with, Nick Khan and ask him questions that, they wouldn't be asking him, questions where he could give aquatic, easy for me to say. What's the word I'm looking for? Accurate or hold on for a second. He would give accurate, business-like answers. They would sit down with him and they would basically hit him hard. Maybe not so much Ariel Hawani, but JD and Just Alex and others, they would hit him hard with questions of, what about this? What about that? Blah, 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 blah. They wouldn't hold anything back. That's why I think sometimes some of these people, like a Nick Khan, avoid those kind of podcasters, YouTubers, interviewers, because they know, hey, these guys are going to hit us with questions we may not have the answers for. And again, that's why, Nick Khan would go to somebody like Ariel Hawani, knowing that, hey, they have a history with each other, and knowing that Ariel, he's going to hit you with the hard-hitting questions, but he's also going to be respectful enough to basically say, hey, I know where to cut the limit off, kind of deal. Like, he's not going to hold back, even if you were his agent, like he was for Nick at one, as Nick was for him at one time. But he also will know where to kind of cut it off and basically not push it any further than he already has. So yeah, to me, I think just from what I'm hearing, he gave the most accurate kind of, I guess you could say, answers that he could give, and with the questions he was given. He gave the most exquisite answers, I guess. So I look at it like this. He's just doing an interview, kind of updating things, giving the best answers he could to situations, trying to, I guess try to smooth out the situations. Like, look, none of what, because basically when he said that Vince never really would ask, as far as he knew, Vince would since Vince has been back or whatever, he's never asked, oh, why did Hunter and you do this, or why did Hunter and Stephanie do this, or why did you and Stephanie hire this and that. To him, that never happened. That never happened, as far as he knows. and or as far as he can, admit to in the recent times. So, he's doing, basically what he's doing on this public forum is what a lot of people equivalent to Triple H has been doing lately with the talent meetings, and that's damage control. It's basically trying to calm anybody that's probably listening to it and watching it whenever they do, trying to calm the nerves of, hey, don't worry, Vince is not going to, do what you fear he's going to do, because if that was the case, he would have asked me and Hunter and Steph a long time ago why we make this decision, why we hired that person, So, according to him, Vince never did that, or hasn't done that yet. And, again, he's not surprised Vince, did what he did to get back into the company, because of the fact that, again, it's Vince, and when he gave that answer, I read that, I looked at that when he said, in the transcript, when he said it's Vince, to me, that's his way of just saying, this is Vince McMahon you're talking about. What do who else would you expect to do something like this? Do you expect him to just sit on the sidelines forever, especially with, let's say, a potential sale of the company and the upcoming TV media rights deals coming up? You expect him just to sit on the sidelines and let it happen without him? No, that's not going to happen. So when he said that basically to me was his way of saying, this is Vince McMahon you're talking about. You think he's going to really just sit, sit back and let all this, potential sales and TV media rights deals and all that go on without him? No, it's not going to happen. So again, overall, I don't think we should worry too much about the interview with Nick Khan. I think, honestly, he just, as I said, just gave the answer as best as he could to the questions he probably knew he was going to get asked, and, just went from there. So, to me, I wouldn't worry too much about it right now. But, hey, I'm not somebody that looks at a lot of these little moments here and there, or these little situations here and there, and believes step by step things are happening, and they're happening in a way that, feels very, very suspicious, very under the table, very kind of like uncertain for the future. I mean, some people that have talked about the interview already bring up a lot of things that have happened that kind of like maybe counteract what Nick Khan told Bill Simmons. Like, basically, you have the guy that would set up interviews for the WWE superstars and all that, this Adam Hopkins, leaving after such a long tenure with the company. He was the VP of communications, if you will. So if you wanted an interview with, like, let's say Seth Rollins or something, he would be the one to set it up. So he left, and nobody knows if maybe he was let go. Apparently reports say he was given the pink slip and all that. But we don't know. Maybe he just finally decided to leave. We don't know. But they feel that, along with Stephanie exiting the way she did, days after they had that meeting, saying, hey, nothing's going to really change, even though she didn't specifically say that herself, from what I understand. A lot of people find these things, very interesting, and basically to them adds more fuel to this fire that is slowly starting to rechristen itself, basically rekindle itself, if you will. And, basically there's a cat that just walked across our yard and it's going to go into the alleyway here. But basically it's starting to rechristen itself. It's trying to set itself ablaze again. A lot of people feel there's some kind of fuel, some kind of smoke still, that fire that's allowing it to stay active, not as much as it used to, but still kind of be active to where just like the right amount of lighter fluid would, cause it to ignite, just the right moment, which would be the equivalent of, a huge gallon of gasoline fluid lighter fluid being tossed on it to allow it to go ablaze. They feel that it's just that one moment that believing is going to happen very soon. it's going to happen very soon. We just don't know when. We just don't know when or where. But again, he gave the answers that he did. Like, again, he basically said that Vince never, asked him why they did these things and all that. Never came across like that. And he basically said, look, this is Vince we're talking about. This is Vince. You think he's going to stay away, especially at this time? No, he's not. So, yeah, to me, he did what he could. To me, he gave the answers that he could, honestly. And again, people are going to suspect and speculate and theorize and all that, a lot of what's going on. And they're just right now, as fans being, as they look at the talent, being on tippy-toe, if you will, of what's happening. Because they don't know what's going to occur within the next few weeks. Nobody does. But I think right now we shouldn't really, as I said earlier, shouldn't really look too much into the interview and just, leave it at what it is and just enjoy what we have right now while we have it. So those are just my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. And you will get an audio podcast of this down the line. But until next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later.